ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
We are hours away from learning whether San Diego County will fall back into the purple tier, the most restrictive tier in the state's reopening system. It would mean many businesses, including restaurants, would have to close their indoor operations. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura spoke with the local restaurant association to see what it's advising its members.
They say every restaurant's priority is the safety of their staff and customers, but it is up for each restaurant owner to decide what's best for them if the county goes back into the purple tier. Eastbound Bar and Grill in Lakeside is closed on Mondays.
It's something that we've had to do because of COVID. We had to adjust our hours.
Ben Clevenger is a co-owner of Eastbound. The restaurant would take another hit if the county fell back into the purple tier and restaurants had to close their indoor dining areas. So they've made a tough decision.
We've decided to just stay open.
Clevenger is also president of the local chapter of the California Restaurant Association. He says they are writing a letter asking local and state officials for a one-week extension in hopes the COVID-19 metrics improve. As for what they're telling their members,
we advise them to keep practicing safe social distancing, safe operation practices and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's up to them, the individual business, whether they're going to stay open or close and follow the guidelines, So I think there's a lot of restaurants right now in survival mode, and they don't have any other choice at this point but to stay open and hope for the best.
The county will find out Tuesday if it falls back into the purple tier. If it did, restaurants and gyms would only be able to operate outdoors. Retail stores and indoor malls would be limited to 25% capacity. Food courts and common areas would close. Personal care salons can operate indoors with limits. Playgrounds, which recently reopened, can stay open with capacity restrictions. Movie theaters and places of worship can only operate outdoors. The same goes for zoos, aquariums, and museums. As for Eastbound, Clevenger says the main reason they're staying open is for their staff.
If we have to go back outside, then it just you have to let go of people again. And you're playing this game with people's lives.
If the county falls back into the purple tier, the county says the new round of restrictions would take effect at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday. Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
Here are the latest coronavirus numbers. The county announced 401 new cases today, bringing our total to 60,500. No new deaths reported on Mondays, which is typical, so that number stands at 908.
More than 237,000 Americans have now died from the virus, and multiple states have recorded their highest number of new daily COVID-19 cases. But there is optimism tonight, with Pfizer announcing its vaccine candidate appears to be about 90% effective in clinical trial patients. Pfizer says it could be ready to ask the FDA for emergency use authorization of their vaccine as soon as next week. If it's shown to be safe and effective, the first people who will likely get the vaccine here are healthcare providers and groups such as seniors who are most at risk.
I expect that healthcare workers and first responders maybe by December or January, high-risk people February, March, most Americans probably April through June.
If it's approved by the end of the year, Pfizer expects to produce enough vaccines to cover about 25 million people, but that appears to be for people around the world and not just the U.S.
ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala explains why researchers say Pfizer's vaccine results could be great news for other vaccine trials as well.
I think this is frankly the break we've all been waiting for.
After Pfizer announced early data showing its vaccine is more than 90% effective in protecting trial participants, many doctors and scientists are optimistic. This could be a huge step forward in the fight against the coronavirus.
I think it's an incredibly wonderful day for science and medicine.
While UCSD is not participating in Pfizer's trial, it is taking part in 3 other phase 3 studies: Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Janssen. UCSD's Dr. Susan Little leads 2 of those trials that resumed in San Diego County just last week. She says this type of data could mean more positive results are on the way.
And I think what this means for these trials, for frankly all of the trials that are available at this stage, this is incredibly good news because so far they all use the same approach to vaccine development. They are all targeting the same protein, the spike protein, on the coronavirus.
Pfizer says it plans to seek emergency use authorization from the FDA by the third week of November. Dr. Fauci weighing in on the early analysis.
The efficacy of the Pfizer mRNA candidate is over 90%, which is just extraordinary and is going to have a major impact on everything that we do with regard to COVID. Moderna is an mRNA candidate, which we would expect would have similar results.
Pfizer CEO says he hopes other vaccines will also be successful to meet the global demand. Based on current projections, Pfizer expects to produce 50 million vaccine doses globally in 2020 and up to 1.3 billion in 2021. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
The U.S. government placed an initial order of 100 million doses for $1.95 billion with access to buy 500 million more doses. The Trump administration plans to distribute the vaccine for free to Americans. And the FDA announced this afternoon it has issued an emergency use authorization for Eli Lilly's antibody therapy, which is used to treat mild to moderate cases of coronavirus. And it's targeted for people at high risk of their cases getting more severe. This comes after striking a $375 million deal with the federal government for 300,000 vials. The company said it planned to have 100,000 doses ready to ship within days and would manufacture 1 million doses by the end of 2020. The treatment would be provided to patients at no cost.
Tonight, President-elect Joe Biden is already getting to work, speaking with world leaders and announcing his plan to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. As ABC's Rena Roy reports, President Trump and his team are still not backing down, filing several lawsuits and claiming the election was stolen.
With 10 weeks to go until he assumes the highest office in the United States, President-elect Joe Biden is revealing his plan to control COVID-19.
There's a need for bold action to fight this pandemic. We're still facing a very dark winter.
Monday, he was briefed by his new coronavirus task force led by former Obama Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, David Kessler, who ran the FDA under Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, and Dr. Marcela Nunez-Smith, a professor of public health at Yale University.
We'll follow the science. We'll follow the science. Let me say that again. And we'll adjust to new data when it comes in. And we'll listen and work in cooperation with governors and local leaders of both parties.
Biden planning to ramp up testing, contact tracing, get more PPE for healthcare workers, and assess the racial disparities with the virus. This as drug maker Pfizer announces its vaccine is more than 90% effective in protecting recipients from getting infected, according to late-stage clinical trials. Meantime, world leaders embracing the new administration, including Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who spoke with Biden by phone. However, many Republicans and President Trump remain defiant.
This election is not over. Far from it.
But President Trump and his team have presented no credible evidence of voter fraud. Republican Lieutenant Governor of Georgia telling CNN,
"We've not had any sort of credible incidents raised to our level yet."
The president also shaking up his staff, announcing on Twitter he fired Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. Nearly all of the Trump campaign's lawsuits since Election Day have been thrown out in court, but they are still expected to file more. Rena Roy, ABC News, Wilmington, Delaware.
And back here at home, San Diego has a new mayor. Today, Barbara Bree announced she has conceded to Todd Gloria. Bree says that she called Gloria yesterday to congratulate him on winning the race. She said the job he faces will not be easy.
I urge all of us to understand the challenges and difficult choices ahead that Mr. Gloria and the City Council must make, and that all San Diegans should be at the table to make them.
In a statement, Gloria said, "I want to thank Councilmember Bree for her service to our city, and I wish her and her family well. It is time to put the campaign behind us and come together and as San Diegans to resolve the many challenges we face. Votes are still being counted, but Gloria leads Bree by 74,000 votes."
Meantime, the race for District 2 seat on the County Board of Supervisors is getting even tighter. After today's update, Steve Voss leads Joel Anderson by just 111 votes. Both men are Republicans, so the outcome of this race will not impact the balance of power on the board. The next vote count update will be tomorrow after 5 p.m. For a complete look at the election results and updated totals, you can go to 10news.com, check out Election 2020 section.
It was a violent afternoon for law enforcement in Texas. A 25-year veteran of the Houston Police Department who was shot and killed has been identified. 47-year-old Sergeant Sean Rios was killed this afternoon after a gun battle with the suspect. Rios was shot multiple times and ran into a nearby motel looking for help and then collapsed. He died at the scene. Authorities say he was in plain clothes at the time. In Washington State, 2 sheriff's deputies are out of the hospital tonight after getting injured in a shooting there. The Kings County Sheriff's Office says they were responding to reports of a car prowler. The suspect opened fire and deputies shot back, killing the suspect.
We know the name of the man shot to death in Ramona last week, and the killer is still on the run. The sheriff's department says 46-year-old Mario Cardozo died from a gunshot wound after someone found him on the ground in front of a home. It happened early Thursday morning on Pine Street. Detectives call it a homicide. They're asking anyone with information about the shooter to call Crime Stoppers.